begin our forum with a message from James J. Parks from Oakland County Bar Association, the president.
As was just discussed, I'm president of the Oakland County Bar Association, and you're about to see two candidates who are here to tell you why they believe they would serve you and your fellow citizens as district court judge for the 46th District Court. That court serves the city of Southfield, city of Lathrop Village, or is it Lathrop Village? Villages of Beverly Hills, Bingham Farms, and Franklin, together with the township of Southfield. The candidates are Kamisha Gant and Judge Deborah Nance. You know, when you watch sporting events, if you have a referee that doesn't know what's going on, it'll kill the whole event. That's what happens if you have a judge that isn't a good judge, except the stakes are usually much higher. A judge is asked every day to make really important decisions, to apply the law, and to act as society's referee. The judge must not be biased, incompetent, intemperate, or else everybody loses. This November, you're going to be asked to make one of the most important decisions that voters are called upon to make, and that is to vote for the judge of the 46th District Court. Unfortunately, most people don't understand much about the elections of judges because it's at the end of the ballot, and most people call a lawyer that they know the night before and say, "Do you know any judges?" I think it's really important and significant that there's this many people here today, also being videotaped, so that you have the opportunity to look at the candidates and hear them to make your own decisions. We believe it's so important that the Oakland County Bar Association, in collaboration and partnership with the League of Women Voters and Detroit Free Press, have established these judicial candidate forums to make you informed, enough to make one of the most important decisions in the event you ever have gone before a judge. You know how important it is that judge is as well qualified as possible. If you were a family member, happen to be before a judge, that you will likely feel that their credibility, their integrity might be the most important thing to you at that time. The American Bar Association, which is a national association which has set forth standards for the United States government for years, Congress and the President has set forth several factors that they believe are important in assessing whether a judge is best suited to serve. We endorse these factors, and we're going to recommend them for your consideration as well. First, and most importantly, is integrity. Is this candidate honest and open? Has she led an exemplary life? Will she be an example to those whose case she must decide? Second factor, we would say, would be legal knowledge and ability. Has the candidate demonstrated that she knows the law, either by good grades in school, by experience, by writing clearly and speaking well? The third factor is professional experience. It's difficult to think of a judge that would be competent to hear cases unless they had experience in the legal profession, and whatever way they gleaned that experience, that they knew what was going on in a courtroom. The fourth factor is judicial temperament. Some say the first factor of integrity is the most important. As a trial lawyer for 40 years, I'm going to tell you that the most important is judicial temperament. There are judges that once become judges forget that they were lawyers or that they're serving people, and may not have a temperament that is best suited to serve the public. Judicial temperament is all important. Take it into account. The fifth is diligence. Is the candidate likely to be a hard worker who efficiently manages their caseload and decides cases promptly and is always fully prepared. The sixth factor you should consider is what is the candidate's state of health. Is there anything about the candidate's physical or mental capacities that would in any way limit them from serving the community? Seventh, this factor is about financial responsibility. Has this individual demonstrated prudence and responsibility in his or her own financial affairs? And does the candidate's record of financial responsibility reflect whether she can serve the citizens well? Eighth and final factor you should consider is a question of public service. Serving on the judiciary is the ultimate act of public service. Has the candidate demonstrated a worthiness to accept this awesome responsibility by showing leadership in other organizations or groups? We strongly urge you to keep these factors in mind when assessing who would be your best judge, who would serve your community best. Keep these factors in mind while the candidates speak, please. And most importantly, remember to vote on the nonpartisan judicial ballot. Thank you for your attention and your interest in good government. And now, here's Linda DePorter from the League of Women Voters, who is our forum moderator. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess it's okay if you clap that time. Okay. This forum will be featuring, as he mentioned, persons who have filed for the judge of the 46th District Court. There are 2 candidates, and you vote for one for a 6-year term. Sponsors of this forum are the League of Women Voters, Oakland area, the Oakland County Bar Association, and the Detroit Free Press. And as I said before, I'm Linda DePorter, a member of the League of Women Voters. I am not a resident of this district. The League of Women Voters is a trusted national nonpartisan political organization. Our members do the hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we never endorse a candidate, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues that keep our community strong. As a League of Women Voter member, I have the opportunity to contribute in a leadership role such as this that has great impact on local, state, and even national issues. If you are interested in learning how to make a similar impact, I would encourage you to pick up some of the League's information available here tonight, or visit our website at lwvoa.org. As I said, the League of Women Voters does not endorse any candidate or political party. Views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, and sponsors take no responsibility. The format has been established by the League of Women Voters. We ask the audience remain silent during the forum. Please turn off all cell phones. We ask that candidates answer the question with their views only and not interrupt another candidate. The candidates will be answering questions submitted by the audience and screened for duplication and appropriateness by Michael Schloff, Saida Davidson, and Stephen McKinney. They're all from the Oakland County Bar. Pages will be circulating with paper and pencils for your questions, so please turn your questions into the pages. And they are on either side here. So just raise your hand if you need a card or you want to ask a question. The format is as follows. All candidates will be given 1 minute for opening statements in alphabetical order. Closing statements will be 1 minute in reverse order, and candidates will usually have 1 minute to answer questions in rotation unless extended by me. All candidates will be allowed equal time to answer questions. Our timer is Sharon Kelly, and the candidates are the Honorable Deborah Nance, who's the incumbent, and Kenesha, no clapping, please. Kenesha Gant, who is a write-in candidate. That means that her name will not be on the ballot. To vote for her, you must write her name on the appropriate line. Okay? We will begin the 1 minute opening statements with Ms. Gant.
Good evening. My name is Kenesha Gant, and I'm a write-in candidate for 46th District Court Judge. My nominating petitions were challenged on a technicality, and I continued my candidacy as a write-in. I have more experience and expertise in district court practice than my opponent, having practiced at all of the district courts in the Tri-County area and many more for the past 12 years. I've been a probation officer, a court clerk, a judicial intern, and a consultant for neighborhood legal services. I'm a trial attorney in private practice representing clients in criminal and civil matters. I bring a unique perspective to what justice means, having worked on both sides of the bench. I am held in high regard by judges, attorneys, clientele, and the community based upon my work ethic and professionalism. I look forward to sharing my vision of public service at the 46th District Court with you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And Judge Nance.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deborah Nance, and I'm the sitting judge of the 46th District Court. I was elected by you, the citizens of the 46th District Court, November 2012. I've been the presiding judge in courtroom number 2 since I began my term. I graduated Wayne State Law School. I also had gained experience in the Oakland County and the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. I was on assignment to the Ford Motor Company Office of the General Counsel, and that was before I started my private practice in a mid-sized law firm. I'm not a politician. I don't have a platform, but I have a passion as a judge, and my passion is our young people. I see 17, 18, 19-year-olds charged as adults, and my passion is to make sure that those young people never again appear before a judge or a court. My passion is to, after treating those young people with dignity and respect, try to turn that behavior around. I'm the only candidate in this race qualified by my experience on the bench, and I'm the only candidate qualified by the Secretary of State to appear on your ballot. I ask you for your support.
Now we begin the question segment of our forum. Most questions will have a 1-minute time limit, as I said, and questions will come from our panel and the audience. Our panelists are Brian Dickerson of the Detroit Free Press and Judith S. Gracie from Oakland County Bar Association. We're going to begin with Mr. Dickerson asking Ms. Gant.
Ms. Gant, good evening. Your name won't appear on the ballot, you said, because of your petition was challenged on a technicality. What exactly does that mean? Why were you disqualified?
Well, thank you, Mr. Dickerson, for giving me the opportunity to answer that question and explain my write-in candidacy. I filed my nominating petitions in a timely fashion. I had the requisite amount of signatures, and they were verified signatures. When I filed my nominating petitions at the Bureau of Elections, I was met with an attorney, and I was immediately challenged. My nominating petitions were challenged not on the signatures, they were challenged on the font and the specificity of the office designation and the heading of my nominating petitions. The same petitions that, similar to the petitions that I submitted in 2016 when I ran for this position previously. So,
Did it not list the office you were running for?
it listed the incumbent, regular term, and their expiration. On the back of the nominating petitions, it gives you guidance. There's also a statute and election laws, and I followed the statute, and I followed the instructions, and I contacted the Bureau of Elections to guide me as to how to fill out my petitions. Where it says district, I put 46, which is what I was instructed to do. I gave no more information than I was asked to give. And I was challenged because there was an allegation that the people who signed my petition may be confused as to whether I was running for 46th District Court or 46th Circuit Court. And 46th Circuit Court is in Kalkaska, Michigan. 46th State Rep, which is also an allegation that they might have been confused I was running for 46th State Rep, is in Brandon Township. So those two, the circuit and the 46th State Rep seat, did not overlap with the district in which I was running. 46th District Court is the only 46th in the Southfield, Lathrop Village, Beverly Hills, Bingham Farms, and Franklin area. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Do you have a question for Judge Nance, too?
Yes, Judge Dan said it doesn't make sense, obviously, to ask you that question.
But I'd like to respond.
Well, I have a different question for you.
All right.
You said in your opening statement that you were the only candidate qualified by virtue of experience and appearing on the ballot. Do you think Ms. Nance is unqualified for this position?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm looking at a statement from the Department of State in Lansing that indicates that Ms. Gant's petition headings does not clearly inform voters that she is a candidate for judge. For example, both the 46th District and the 46th State House are situated in Oakland County. Candidates may qualify for both by circulating nominating petitions, and that her petitions were determined to be insufficient. That means invalid. So any other information is not accurate. It had nothing to do with
So my question
font
was, do
size.
you believe she's unqualified for office?
I believe that I am more qualified for this position, having sat on the bench for the last 6 years. After nearly 25,000 cases, I have heard landlord-tenant cases, traffic violations, ordinance, misdemeanors, felony exams. I've held over 700 felony exams as the sitting judge, not as an attorney, not as a litigant, but as the sitting judge. I feel my qualifications by far exceed that of my opponent.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Gracie, you will address Judge Nance first.
Thank you. Judge Nance.
Yes.
President Parks has already mentioned certain qualifications that the voters should look for in a judge. My question to you is, what is the most important quality that a judge should possess, and why?
I think it's judicial temperament. We have people who come before us who are afraid to come into the district court. They're afraid to come into any court. They're coming in on landlord-tenant matters or traffic matters or criminal matters. Many of them have never been before a court. They don't know what to expect, which is why I've made it a point, since I've sat on the bench, to bring programs to the people in this district. I developed a program called How to Prepare for Your Day in Court. It tells them what to bring, what to expect, how our court operates, and where to find more information. I've also developed a program for senior citizens regarding what happens in the court. We used to have a lot of court watchers, not so much anymore since the advent of court TV, but I think it's important that our residents are not afraid to come, because if you don't come to court, I often tell people, something still happens. If it's a criminal matter, it could very well be a bench warrant. If it's a civil matter, it could be a default. It's important to be there, and it's important that judges step into the community and educate voters.
Thank you. And Ms. Scott.
Ms. Gant, the question for you is, your opponent feels that you're not qualified to sit as a judge. Do you think you lack the qualities to be a sitting judge?
Well, thank you, Ms. Gracie. I believe I possess the characteristics of being a great judge. And in fact, I feel as though I possess those characteristics as a practicing attorney. Many of the qualities that you look for in a good judge are things that I exhibit in my daily practice. So you have to be knowledgeable about the law. And I've been practicing in criminal and civil for the past 12 years. So before 2012, I had 6 years of specific criminal and civil experience in the district courts, and that's very valuable. So when my opponent was elected to this position, I already had experience in this area. And then for the 6 years while she's been on the bench, I've continued to practice, representing clients of different backgrounds, substance abuse issues, mental health issues, and a variety of other issues that they come to court with, homelessness. And I think that I exhibit all of the qualities: diligence,
Thank you.
effectiveness, knowledge of the
Thank
law.
you. Thank you. This is an audience question, and we'll start with Ms. Gant. Is it Gant or Gaunt?
Gant.
I'm sorry. What would you do to improve court procedures or court efficiency?
Well, thank you for allowing me to answer that. I think we are in an age of technology. So a lot of the court systems are switching over to electronic versions, or ways in which the public that comes into the courthouse can be more efficient in conducting their business. So I think a lot of the ways that the district courts, and specifically the 46th District Court, can be more efficient, and a judge can be more efficient, is by encouraging the people that come through the courthouse to utilize a kiosk. One can be set up for them to take care of their traffic matters, handling it online, or you can conduct filings in an electronic version versus going to a counter. So that's one of the major ways that you can be more efficient is switching over to an electronic courthouse, which many of the district courts have done, and the 46th District Court has moved in that direction as well.
Thank you. Judge Nance, same question.
Well, many of the programs that my opponent has mentioned are already in progress in our court. One of the items that I've supported and recommended to our chief judge is to start to use technology such as when you go to a spa these days, or a doctor's office, or a dentist's office, very often, right after you make your appointment, you can receive by text message an instant appointment reminder. I looked into this with our probation officer and found that many of our defendants, as a matter of fact, 100% of our criminal defendants have access to a phone that has text messages. You may also recall that during the Obama administration, many phones were given out to indigent individuals who could not afford a cell phone, and as well there were other opportunities to give them to people who were victims of domestic violence. We're finding more and more in this day and age that those cell phones are being held by individuals, and simply having a reminder appear as to a payment plan or a
Thank
court
you.
notice would be
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Dickerson, you start with Judge Nance.
Judge Nance, Mike Bouchard, the sheriff of Oakland County, is fond of saying that the Oakland County Jail he oversees is the state's largest mental health facility.
Yes.
Do you have the tools you need to address the mental health problems you confront in your courtroom? And in a better world, what would you add to your toolkit?
I do have those tools. I possess them currently. Prior to taking the bench, I did work in the probate area, and I worked with people with mental health illnesses. I worked with people with closed head injuries. As a result, I am able to assess. I'm not a medical professional, but I'm able to assess within a very brief period of time if someone before me is going through mental health challenges. Jail is not the right place for people with mental health problems, and our jails have become holding centers for people with mental health. When Lansing made the decision many years ago to close mental health facilities, those individuals went into our jails. Sheriff Bouchard has come up with wonderful programs to try to avoid that, as has our local police departments. There are now programs that are instated to divert those people with mental health issues rather than arrest them. So I'm seeing less people, but we still have too many people who are coming before us with mental health challenges. And I have
Thank
the
you.
ability to
Thank
help
you.
them. Maybe a follow-up question.
Same question for Ms. Gant?
Ms. Gant, yes, same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
I ask if district court judges have the tools they need to address the mental health problems they confront in the courtroom, and if, in a better world, what would you add to the toolkit that a judge doesn't have now?
Well, I think that district courts do have the tools that they need to address the problems. They have the pretrial services that's able to do a background check on the individuals that come in to the courthouse on criminal matters. And pretrial services does an extensive background into that person's social history, which could include mental health concerns. However, because I've practiced at all of the district courts in the Tri-County area and many more, I know that there are various programs for people who live in various areas of the state. So everyone that comes in the 46th District Court does not live in the 46th District. So I am aware, because I have practiced for 12 years in district court matters. I know about various programs at other courthouses or in the community that would be able to help those individuals. It also helps to be able to call upon your experience of representing individuals with those
Thank
types
you.
of needs as well.
Thank you. Ms. Gracie, would you start with Ms. Gant?
Yes. Ms. Gant, in your opinion, what role does the rule of law play in our society today, and how should our judges apply it or not?
Well, the rule of law is one of our basic core democratic values, and judges must follow the law. and they do not have the discretion to deviate or to try to make new law. You have to follow the existing law. I do believe that when you are knowledgeable about the law and you are able to apply the existing law, you're able to make sound legal decisions. And I think that comes from having practiced in the area in which you preside over.
Thank you.
Judge Nance, how many of your cases, if you know, have been returned or come back on appeal from a ruling that you've made?
I do happen to know because I look at those statistics very carefully. I do follow the law. I follow the law to the extent that after nearly 30,000 cases, I have been returned a verdict or judgment one time in a criminal matter and twice in a civil matter. That's 3 cases that have been returned to me for remand that were where either my opinion was upheld or the case was dismissed. 3 cases out of nearly 30,000, and I followed those statistics.
Thank you. This is an audience question, and we'll start with Judge Nance. What is being done to help poor people get a fair chance in court?
The Michigan Indigent Defense Commission Act. We have established, and our court, I'm very proud to say, has established our guidelines to be able to roll out these concerns when the time is appropriate. We have a budget maintained, and for those of you who aren't aware, there are 8 standards for the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission, and what it actually does is it tries to raise the bar of indigent defense to the same level as the prosecutor. It provides more resources, it provides investigators when applicable, it provides more pay for those attorneys who are taking court appointments, it provides better training, and it also provides for a standard that is more equivalent to that of the prosecutor's office so that indigent individuals who come into our court can get the same level of professional legal assistance. Not that they're not getting it now, but it can certainly be improved. And there's an act that will do that. We're on board in compliance.
Thank you. Ms. Gant?
Well, I practiced for the past 12 years, primarily in district court practice. And so I've had the opportunity to represent people of all backgrounds. And a lot of the clients that I come upon are indigent. I started my practice as an appointed attorney, and my practice has grown from the appointed cases that I was assigned. So I'm very familiar with people who may not have the means to hire their own attorney. I think the difference between being an expert and having experience in the area is that having experience just means that you've done it a few times or done it over and over again. Expertise, like I have, is that you've done it over and over and you do it well. And in addition, you achieve expertise in an area, and I have achieved this district court expertise, is because not only do you do it on a daily basis, which I do, but you do it well, you pay attention, and you care.
Thank you. Okay, back to Mr. Dickerson, and you can start with Ms. Gant.
Ms. Gant, our election system treats judicial candidates differently than other candidates for other offices. In the federal system, they're appointed for life and can be removed only when they fail to uphold the law or behave badly on the bench. Even in the state system, incumbents are listed as incumbents, so your opponent will appear as Judge Nance and have that advantage. And the presumption is that judges retain office in good behavior. So why does Judge Nance need to be replaced, in your opinion?
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer that question. And for me, the choice is very clear. I've been practicing for the past 12 years, and as I indicated, it's been primarily district court work. And I've had the opportunity to view various judges in different jurisdictions. So I know what makes a good judge. A good judge is knowledgeable about the law, able to apply it, and they do it in a manner in which they treat everybody with dignity, courtesy, compassion. And having practiced at the 46th District Court, and that's where I started my practice, I've practiced in front of all of the judges, including Judge Nance. And I do not believe that she is able to stay within the confines of the law and protect everyone's constitutional rights at all times. There's been instances where my opponent has exhibited a lack of judicial temperament, not being courteous, not being kind,
Thank
not
you.
being compassionate, or applying the law
Thank you.
correctly.
Judge Nance, I think probably you should just respond to that critique.
Well, I will take my cue from Michelle Obama, if I may. When they go low, you go high. I'm not going to sit here and say anything negative about my opponent who has practiced before me, who I gave cases to in my court, whom I mentored, who I supported, who has now decided to run. The fact remains that my opponent failed to follow the law in completing the simple instructions for completing a petition. She failed to disclose important information on her petition, and when challenged by the Board of Canvassers as to her signature, she disagreed with their decision. If she disagreed, she could have appealed it. She didn't appeal. Instead, she wants you, the voters, to override the decision of the Secretary of State and write her in. So the question for you as voters, do you want to write in who did not follow the law? That's the question for you. And if
no.
you do, your vote is yours.
Let me remind the audience again that there's to be no voicing of anything. Opinions should be quiet. Thank you. Now I forgot where I'm at. Okay. Brian, you got Judge Nance, I need Ms. Gant. Oh, Judy's turn? Okay. Judy, Ms. Gracie, you start with Judge Nance.
Yes.
Judge Nance, I'm going to have to continue on that question. Do you
You may.
think that because of our state system is such that for your particular position that a judge has to run every 6 years, do you think that once a person is elected, that that's a seat for life and that no one should challenge them?
No, I don't, as a matter of fact. I took this position knowing that every 6 years I would have to come before the voters and reapply for my position. I don't have a problem with doing that. I don't have a problem with doing that because after nearly 30,000 cases, I have 3 appeals. I don't have a problem with doing that because my case management record is exemplary. I move my cases at or above statewide requirements. I realize that people come to court not only to get justice, but to get closure. They don't want cases that linger for months and months and months until the prosecutors run out of witnesses or this individual who's been arrested, and let me remind you that simply because you're arrested doesn't mean that you're guilty, while this case lingers over them for months unnecessarily. So I run on my record, and I've got a good record. I'm proud of the record. As a matter of fact, I've recently been rated by the Wolverine Bar Association Judicial Qualifications Committee as extremely well qualified / outstanding.
Thank you. And do you, same question, Ms. Gant?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Well, I exercise my right as a citizen to run for this position. And how I look at it is that it's a seat. I'm not running against Judge Nance. I'm running for a position, a seat at the 46th District Court as judge. And it's the voters of the district and the voters alone that will decide who's to have that seat at the end of this election cycle. The seat does not belong to the sitting judge. The seat does not belong to me. The seat belongs to the citizens. And as far as the Bureau of Elections is concerned, a write-in candidate is just as much of a candidate as someone who turned in their nominating petitions and appears on the ballot. So there's no difference except for my name does not appear. It gives the citizens an opportunity to select me and to deliberately write my name on the ballot. So my name will appear on the ballot when the voters choose to write my name in on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, an audience question, and we'll start with Ms. Gant. What is the single most important issue facing this court? In your opinion?
Well, I think in this case, overall, the 46th District Court runs efficiently and is held in very high regard. And I started my legal practice at the 46th District Court, and it's very near and dear to my heart. There is an issue at the 46th District Court, and it's in courtroom number 2. And when the citizens go before my opponent, they don't get the courtesy, the respect, and the justice that they deserve. And it's very moving to me that it's brought up that I might not be qualified for this position, or that the fact that my name doesn't appear on the ballot does not means that I wouldn't make a great judge. I think I'm the best candidate for this position because I have experience and expertise in district court, and I know what makes a good judge. And what makes a good judge is compassion, courtesy, and following the law and being knowledgeable about the law.
Thank you. And Judge Nance?
Well, in terms of compassion and courtesy, I truly believe that I have exhibited the most courtesy here tonight. Again, I'm not going to sit here and go negative or say any
Excuse me,
negative
but the
comments.
question is, what is the single most important issue
Oh,
facing this
okay.
court?
Single most important issue facing the court is probably the court's collection rate. We've had discussions, I've had discussions with my colleagues about our collection rate while addressing the need for structural upgrades. As most of you may have noticed, the court is going through some renovations on the outside. There are some much-needed renovations on the inside. It's a very old building, but we are still required to operate as efficiently as possible. We've had problems with our roof leaking. Those of you who may have visited the court for jury duty have noticed some of those issues, but we're making improvements as best we can, and with the funds that are available to us by the city as well as the collection rates, we're trying to keep up. And I think we're doing a yeoman's job.
Thank you. And Mr. Dickerson, you start with Judge Nance?
Judge Nance?
Yes.
There's a great deal of variation in district courts across the state in how first-time drunk drivers are dealt with, first-time driving under the influence offenders.
Yes.
There are judges who, as a matter of pride, sentence anybody thusly accused to jail time the first time. There are judges who go out of their way to keep first offenders out of jail. How have you dealt with first-time DUI offenders during your 6 years on the bench?
Well, first of all, there are factors that are involved in any individual case, and I can't tell you how I'm going to rule on an upcoming or pending case until I examine those facts. But I can tell you what I've thought in the past is that I have the ability to sentence an individual for DUI up to 93 days in the Oakland County Jail, and if I do so, that individual can get out of jail on the 93rd day, have a party, and kill someone. I have not resolved the problem by simply locking them up. I believe that we have other treatment programs available to us. We have wonderful resources in Oakland County. I can sentence individuals to getting treatment, to getting help, so that they don't reoffend in that way. I think that treatment is more appropriate than jails. However, that is a last resource for us to simply keep the community safe. Keeping the community safe is utmost. And it's scary to know that people are driving next to us at 3 in the afternoon who are at extreme levels of intoxication.
Thank
Ms. Gant, how would you decide what to do with a first-time DUI offender if you were sitting on the court?
Well, as a judge, you look at each case on a case-by-case basis. So you give each case individualized attention. So you look at the person's social history, you look at what might have brought them to court, you look at the facts and circumstances of the offense. No two operating while intoxicated cases are alike. So the individual that's standing in front of you, you have to forget about all the other people that you've sentenced before, and you have to look at their individualized needs. There may be mental health issues. There may be some counseling that's needed because of a traumatic event that they went through that has caused them to drink excessively. It might have been just that they exercised poor judgment and that was their first time doing something of that nature. So when someone walks into your courtroom, you look at the facts and circumstances, whether or not that person would avail themselves of services, and you always provide services over incarceration if possible.
Thank you. Ms. Gracie, if you'd start with Ms. Gant?
Ms. Gant, in that same line of questions, what's your feeling about guideline or guideline sentences? As you know, in circuit court, there are certain advisory guidelines that the judges follow. Would you be in favor of a guideline on the district court level?
Well, the sentencing guidelines in the circuit court are advisory now. They used to be mandatory. And it locks you into a certain type of sentence. And as I indicated, you have to treat each case on an individualized basis. So I'm not in favor of sentencing guidelines for the district court. Matters that come before the district court have a maximum penalty of up to 93 days in general, but there are some matters that carry a maximum penalty of up to a year. So in those cases, I think in the cases that come before you specifically at the 46th District Court, you should look at them on a case-by-case basis. You should fashion a sentence that's appropriate for that person to provide them with services and the encouragement so that they're put in a better place so that they never return back to your court in the future. So that's the ultimate goal, is to provide someone with the tools and resources so they do not come back.
Thank you.
Judge Nance, in your court at the 46th District, how would you rate yourself as it relates to your sentences with your colleagues? Do you think you're more harsh, more lenient, or none of the above?
When I'm sentencing, I first of all realize that not only is there an individual before me, but there's a family in front of me. My sentences will affect the individual, the family, and the entire community. So I take sentencing very carefully. One of the first factors that I review is remorse, whether the individual acknowledges or owns the behavior. Knowing what you did and acknowledging what you did is half of the battle. The second factor I look at is the ability of that individual to have support systems. Are there support systems in place? Is there a family? Is there a job? Is there an educational background that will help me determine their ability to whether they might reoffend? And thirdly, I look at the chances of success, whether a probation is more successful than a jail sentence. I look at all of those factors, and judges don't have a lot of time to make these decisions. We have recommendations from the probation department that we can follow, but we're out of time, and I'm out of time.
Thank you. This is a question from the audience. Do you believe, and we'll start with Judge Nance.
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe that judges have an obligation to educate the public about the court? If so, what have you done, or what will you do to meet the obligation?
I absolutely believe that judges should step off the bench and into the communities in which we serve. When I took my position on the bench in 2013, I developed programs that would get me invited to neighborhood associations. I visited neighborhood associations, condo associations, resident associations to talk about what's happening in the court and how to prepare. I visit schools. I developed a program called Careers in the Courtroom so that I could get in and talk to third grade and up about some of the kind of issues that they might face in court, how to become an attorney, how to become a prosecutor or defense counsel, how to become a judge, what happens at jury duty. All of them may be jurors one day. But then I also talk about age-appropriate issues that we see in the court. I'd rather talk to young people in the courtrooms or churches than talk to them in my courtroom. I've also developed a program regarding the opioid epidemic, developed it myself, pulled those people together when I saw that our senior citizens were being addicted to their pain pills. I've also brought together in the community a University of Michigan law professor to bring law students into an expungement fair.
Thank
These
you.
are programs that I
Thank you.
developed. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I
Ms.
get
Gant?
passionate.
I do believe that judges should be accessible, and they should also be very immersed in the community in which they sit on the bench. And so I think in my situation as a practicing attorney, I am very active in my community. As a practicing attorney, I go into the schools and I talk to kids about the law. I do seminars for parents. I'm active with my bar associations, and we bring programming to the public to educate them about various areas of the law that are pressing in the community. I also am active on the Southfield Anti-Drug Coalition Advisory Board, and that is educating the students about the dangers of drugs. I also do mentoring in the community, as well as I also go into the senior homes, and I talk to the seniors about issues that are affecting them. So I'm very immersed in the community as a practicing attorney, and seeking a position
Thank
as
you.
judge continues that public service.
Thank you. Mr. Dickerson, you want to start with Ms. Gant?
Yes. Ms. Gant, I'm going to write you a check for $1 million, and my only condition is that you spend it to improve the administration of justice in the state of Michigan. How are you going to spend it?
I think one of the issues is that there are people that don't feel like they're a part of the process, or they feel excluded from the process because they don't have the money to hire their own attorney. And it shouldn't matter whether or not you've hired your own attorney or whether you receive an attorney that's appointed by the courts. So they are making great efforts to provide more adequate legal representation for indigent defendants. I would give the money to the defense attorneys, public defender's offices, and even the prosecutor's offices, so that they're not overburdened and that they have enough resources to provide the justice that every citizen that walks into the courthouse deserves. So the money would be well spent providing more access to justice for the people that don't have enough money to hire their own attorneys.
Thank you.
Judge Nance, your opponent would spend the $1 million on indigent defense. Is that how you'd spend it?
There's already money that's been earmarked by the state for indigent defense. I would spend the money on education. Statistics tell us that there are states that start to build prisons based upon the low reading level of third and fourth graders. When you've got third and fourth graders who cannot read and start to fall behind, they know that those individuals may very well end up in the criminal justice system. That's where I'd spend your $1 million, to avoid people having to come into the criminal justice system.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Gracie, do you want to start with Judge Nance, please?
Judge Nance, oftentimes it's difficult for some litigants to get to court. They may have work issues, they may have childcare issues, et cetera. What's your position on perhaps altering the hours of operation of the court, at least maybe once a week?
I think it's an excellent idea. There are programs called night courts that used to be very prevalent, so that people, at least once a week, as you suggest, could come and take care of their criminal matters in the evening. But I also look at options such as allowing, perhaps in a civil case where it's not necessary to have the litigant there to actually give testimony on the stand, I allow people to call in. If we can arrange a time when they can call in from their jobs, very often they've got jobs, they're within the 90-day period of time. Now, this can't happen on a criminal matter, but again, sometimes on civil matters, so that they don't have to leave their places of employment in order to be available for their day in court. All kinds of things can be arranged. I welcome people to contact us in advance if they have a doctor's appointment that they've had for 6 months and can't get out of, or some kind of other commitment. We'll try to work with you. We'd rather that you be there or try to be there than miss that day in court.
Ms. Gant, same question.
I'm in favor of altering the hours of the courthouse. There are many clients that I represent on a daily basis that are putting themselves in jeopardy of losing their employment because of the working hours of the court. And if they were able to come in a little earlier, or if they were to come in a little later, they would be able to conduct their business and maintain their job to support their families. So I am very much in favor of altering the hours. Now, as a jurist, you do have much discretion. And even in criminal cases, as well as civil cases, a judge has discretion to alter the conditions that they place upon the individuals so that it doesn't overburden them. The goal is to make sure that the person is provided with services and tools to make their life better so that they never return back to court. It's not to make their life harder. So as a judge, in criminal cases, you can still be flexible and compassionate about the individual that is before you.
Thank you. The last audience question is, how important are integrity and respect, both as a representative of the bar and as a judge? And we'll start, with Ms. Gant.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
How important are integrity and respect, both as a representative of the bar and as a judge?
I think they're very important, and for the bar and for the bench. Integrity is doing the right thing, not only when someone is watching you, but when they're not watching you. And so you have to always carry yourself with the utmost respect and dignity, and you have to treat others with kindness and compassion at all times. And you always have to make sure that you are following the law and doing the right things. And respect is very important. A judge is held in a very high regard. It's a very important position with a lot of discretion over the lives of individuals, whether it's a criminal case or a civil case. And they are looking to you to make sound judgment. So I think having respect of the bench when you're an attorney is very important, so that you have credibility and that you are looked upon in a positive manner, and also the respect of the bar towards the judge as well.
And Judge Nance?
Could you repeat the question again, please?
Yes, how important are integrity and respect, both as a representative of the bar and as a judge?
Respect is earned, not given. It's not given to you simply because of a title. In the first term, in my very first term, I had the respect of my peers to the extent that I was voted as president of the Association of Black Judges of Michigan. That's respect. I handled that role, I believe, extremely well, brought in programs and all kinds of processes that helped to help my colleagues with their jobs and help my colleagues with their duties. I think it's unfortunate that when you run against an incumbent judge that people feel it necessary to make disparaging remarks. Again, I will not make any disparaging remarks against anyone. I'm going to run on my record, and I'm going to run on the fact that I have done the best job in this district. I've been in the churches, in the community, on the bench. Again, I have an exemplary record, and I stand behind that, and I ask for your support.
Thank you. That concludes the time for questions. The candidates will now be given 1 minute to make a closing statement, and we're going to go in the reverse order of the opening statements. I just want to again point out before we do this that in order to vote for Ms. Gant, you must write her name on the ballot. Okay, we'll start with Judge Nance with your closing statement. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank the Oakland County Bar Association and the League of Voters for hosting this event. It's very important, and I appreciate your coming out here tonight and the people who may watch this segment on cable. Being a judge is a huge responsibility. I've handled nearly 30,000 cases. I strive to be kind and courteous, considerate, professional, punctual. I don't keep people waiting in my courtroom. I'm respectful of their time. I move my caseload at or above statewide standards because litigants want closure. I don't grant long adjournments when a shorter adjournment will do. While being efficient, again, I've also been viewed as effective. Recently rated by the Wolverine Bar Association Judicial Qualifications Committee as extremely well qualified, outstanding among my peers. I have a list of endorsements. I have Democratic endorsements. I have the endorsements of labor, even the UAW. And that's just to name a few. And I seek these endorsements simply because they help to
Thank you.
represent who I am and my stand for working people. I
Thank
seek your
you.
support tonight.
Ms. Gant?
Thank you. I would like to thank everyone in attendance here tonight and the host of this judicial forum and giving me the opportunity to speak to you regarding my vision for the 46th District Court. But I must say that this community deserves a leader on the bench that has expertise and knowledge of the law in the area of law over which they preside and who exhibits a judicial temperament. This community took a chance on my opponent in 2012 when they elected someone that had very little district court experience and knowledge of criminal and civil law, which is what the 46th District Court focuses on and the area of the law in which she presides. This community deserves someone that is going to have knowledge of the law, and lack of knowledge of the law is a threat to the judicial system and the constitutional rights of the individuals that walk into the courtroom. There is a hidden problem.
Thank you very much. That's it. Thank you. This concludes our forum. The League of Women Voters would like to thank the audience, the candidates, OCBA Director Mary Lee Jones, I'm not sure where she is, and her staff, and the Detroit Free Press, Southfield Cable 15, who's broadcasting this, for making this forum possible. For further nonpartisan information on these candidates, check the League website for our voter guide, lwvoa.org, also on vote411.org. When known, rebroadcast times of this forum will be on the LWVOA website. The League of Women Voters is funded by contributions from concerned businessmen and citizens. Our membership is open to men and women over the age of 16. And remember to vote on November 6th, 2018. Democracy is not a spectator sport.